everyone to the April 27th Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. We can remain seated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are 7 items tonight. I think the Miller site plan is listed as 6, but it's number 7.
Oops,
on
sorry.
my agenda. It's all right. So at first, let's look at the meeting minutes of April 13th. They're not ready yet, right, Lisa?
No, I couldn't finish them in time. Sorry.
Okay, so we'll look at them at the next meeting. Have we received any correspondence?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Boards and committee updates. Ed, you're here. Can you get a report from the town?
Actually, Dave will give it. I'm just sitting in. I start next month.
All right. You begged off. Dave, you're up.
No love, Joe. There's no love there. Actually, I think the biggest news that we have is, I think most of you know that Barb Cole, our Director of Finance, is retiring next month. And we made an appointment, Rich O'Donnell, a Victor resident. He lives out on Candlelight. Rich comes to us with a host of experience and really happy with him coming on board. And Barb is helping him with the transition. She's turned over her desk and they're sharing emails and he's getting brought up to speed. So it looks like it's going to be a relatively smooth transition. So we're excited about that. And as I told you last month, the pause was in place. We ended that. So there's been some hirings for summer rec for the assistants and the rec people, and also some MEO operators for Parks and Rec and that kind of stuff. But I would say things are moving along pretty smoothly, and we've just been busy with some of the infrastructure and working on that, and just appreciate all the efforts that the planning board continues to provide for us.
Well, that sounds great. It sounds like you got some energy going there, Dave. Any questions for Dave from the board?
Am I in yet?
Ernie, you're in.
I'm
We
in.
started a minute ago. I had Dave Connon just gave his report from the town board. So
Okay.
I guess the
Did you do the pledge?
CS.
Ed's Ernie, Ed is sitting in tonight just to get brought up to speed on the project, and he'll take over for the next quarter as I sign off. But certainly, I hope you board members realize you can reach out to any of us at any time if you ever have any questions. So it's a two-way street.
Thank you. I have a problem with my computer. Tried to eliminate Skype for Business, and all of a sudden, I don't have any email.
Oh no.
So I'm on my phone.
Well, I was just about to ask Lisa if she had a report for the next meeting.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
There you go, Lisa.
Thank you. Your next meeting is May 11th. You have TNT Fireworks 10 at 4-20 Commerce Drive. Applicant is requesting approval for a temporary tent for sale of New York sparkling devices from June 20th through July 5th. Hours of operations to be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Your second public hearing is Crown Castle, 795 Old Dutch Road. Global Signal Acquisition is the owner. Applicant is requesting approval to modify existing wireless facility, replacing and removing 6 antennas and installing cables. And your third one is Wilkins RV of Victor is back at 7447 State Route 96. Applicant is requesting approval to demolish the existing 13,318 square foot showroom and construct a new 18,560 square foot showroom that will be attached to the existing service building, and then any carryovers.
Okay. Was there any correspondence?
No, there wasn't.
Okay, and we're going to table the last meeting minutes until the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, the legal notice for the public hearings appeared in the Daily Messenger along with under review signs being posted on the subject parcels. Postcards were mailed to property owners within a minimum of 500 feet from the location for the initial public hearing date of each application. For applications carried over, please refer to the Planning and Building Office. And I would remind everyone who is speaking tonight that speakers are requested to limit comments to 3 minutes and will be asked to conclude comments at 5 minutes. The first item on the agenda is the Gabriele Minor Subdivision, 01 MS 2021, 6756 County Road 41. Tax map numbers 28.03-1-7.000. The owner is L&L Specialty Company, Inc. The applicant is requesting approval to split the existing 10.02 acre parcel into 2 lots. Lot 1 will consist of 4 acres and contain the existing house structure. Lot 2 will consist of 6 acres. That doesn't quite add up, does it? We'll find out. Who is here for this one?
That's me. David.
Okay.
Am I supposed to say something now?
I can see your name down there, but I can't see your.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my video.
Yeah, you and me both. Okay, go ahead. Just to give us an overview of what you want to do.
Yeah, just like you just summed it up. We're splitting it into 2 parcels. Yeah, it looks like they are off by point, I think 0.02 acres. But it's just a simple division, 6 and 4. And that's, that's it. Yeah.
The 0.02, is that just part of it or not?
I don't know what happened to the 0.2. BME did this. They actually did the layout. I just approved it. And if they need to make a small modification to include the 0.02, then I'm sure that they're willing to do that. No problem.
Okay. So do we have everybody here? Me being late, of course, but other than that, I don't have the full screen, so I'm going to be guessing at who I'm talking to here. Start with Scott. You have any questions?
Relative to the lot acreage, I noticed that in the notes, there's a typo regarding the lot acreage up at the top. I think it is 10.002, but when they break out lot 1 and 2 under subdivision notes, I think those numbers have a typo. That's just one small comment. And the other comment is, I guess kind of for us, the board, should we have the applicant, as we've done with other subdivisions, identify a proposed driveway location for the new lot and look at the access aspect of it?
Okay. Susie, can we get the map up again?
Yeah, we're not developing the land, so we're just doing a simple division. We're going to be putting it on the market to sell, and whoever buys it, I'm sure they'll have a whole design of what they want to do with it.
Okay. But there is one house on it already, right?
Well, that's not going to change. But as far he was asking about an entryway, right, to the property.
Yes, he was.
Okay, and there actually is a temporary one. We recently had trees harvested off the property, and to the left of those bushes, or I think that's whatever that is, to the left of the circle driveway. Yeah, a little to the left right there. We did put a little driveway there so that they could bring the machines back in and then around the backside of the house. So there is already a temporary, or it could be a permanent little driveway there. There's a pipe that goes across for drainage, and there's gravel, a couple loads of gravel.
Okay.
But that can all change depending on what they, whoever buys the land, whatever they're going to do with it, they'll just change that.
They'll have to come back to us and show us what they want to do.
I think so.
Okay. Scott, anything else?
No, I don't have anything. I thought we should look at it the same way we've looked at the other subdivisions. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
The typos, is there going to be a note of that? so that BME I'm not, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not sure what these typos are.
Well, it says the total is 10.02.
Oh, okay. And they just did 6 and 4, right?
Yes.
So we just have to modify that. Is that the only issue?
No, in your subdivision notes under total project site, you've got 10 acres, lot 1, 8.39, lot 2, 12.068. Those are the
Acres?
numbers.
Oh, yeah, they really screwed that up. Yeah, I think what happened is we did a few changes and they probably just didn't, they didn't update that. Mhm.
Is anybody here from BME?
No, it's just me. I'm
Okay.
representing them too. I'll relay that information to them.
All right. Anything else, Scott?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you. Joe Logan?
No comments. I don't have a problem with this application.
Okay. Al, Galena?
So in general, no questions or concerns, but I guess building on Scott's point, right, that, if there is any issues with where the driveway is, site distance, topography, distance to an adjacent driveway, I mean, it would be nice to try to address that now before the lot lines are finalized and then have to potentially do a lot line adjustment. So,
Well, I can tell you where those lot lines are now. There's no driveway going to be able to put there, just based on the terrain. And that's why they chose it that way. But, and there's plenty of frontage to put a driveway on the left. There's already existing circle driveway on the right. So, I mean, I mean, to make a decision now to put a driveway there, it may not coincide with the next development. I mean, if someone.
Well, it may not, but to Scott's point, I mean, we've had, 2 or 3 recent applicants where we really did, I'll say, pursue that issue and really forced some type of conceptual identification of where the driveway is. And we spent 2 or 3 cycles on, getting the applicant to come up with an acceptable answer before we approved those parcels as well. So again, in the spirit of being consistent with our approach, I'd be more comfortable if we did a similar approach on this one.
So you want me to put a driveway in?
Well, at least conceptually, right? That meets the highway access.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's one there now, so I guess we could just leave it, we could draw that in, right?
I think Mr. Gabrielli needs to perhaps understand just a little bit about the access management requirements and
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
the purpose of the requirements is to position driveways in the, I would say, the best location optimally for distance right and distance left coming onto a highway. And certainly Bowden Hill Road is a significant highway, and the speed limit, I think, is 55 there.
Mhm.
So I believe the design distance between the driveways is supposed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 feet plus or minus. I don't think you can achieve that. But what we've asked the other applicants to do is find an optimal location that would work and mitigate it to the best of your ability. We're not asking you to install a driveway. We're just asking you to show us a location that would be feasible and reasonable, that would probably still require a waiver.
So what determines whether it's feasible, or like how would we know where? I mean, is this something BME would know how to do? Or?
Yes,
Yes.
BME, as a matter of fact, was the consultant with whom we were speaking on the last subdivision on Strong Road and Bowden Hill Road.
Oh, okay. All right, so just tell them to put a conceptualized driveway in.
Yeah, most likely, as with other consultants, they would need to take a look at the site and determine where the most optimal location is with respect to site distance. So they may.
And then, okay, and this has to be achieved because now at this juncture, because can't we just put a note that when they do a development, they can just do it then, or because of the lot lines, maybe may have to change the lot lines, you're saying?
You're proposing to create a new piece of property in the town of Victor. And so all the current regulations come upon you. And one of the regulations is to have compliance with highway access guidelines.
Even though we're not building anything there?
Not yet. That's correct.
So, but the next people will, and they will have to comply.
Well, you wouldn't want to sell a lot to someone that didn't have the ability to overcome that issue, I don't think.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm sure they won't have an issue with doing that. Yeah, man, I'll relay that to them.
I think your BME people are aware of that requirement and can guide you to a good solution.
Yeah, I mean, if they're aware of it, they should have put it in. I don't know why they didn't, especially if it's a standard operation to do so. I think their argument is I mean, I think that their whole thing to me was, you know, when someone goes to develop it, that's when the details, you know, will happen. But like I said, I can certainly relay this back to them.
Well, to Scott's note also, if you just show the entrance to the driveway, you don't have to dictate where the driveway is going to go back into the property. You just have to show where the entrance is so that then you put down the data regarding site distance and distance from other entrances. That's
Okay.
really all we're asking, right?
Yeah, I can add, yeah, I'm sure that they'll have no problem drawing a driveway, and
Sure.
yeah, that shouldn't take them too long to do.
No, they should be able to do that in short order. So
Yeah, okay, I'll relay that to them.
it's a detail, but we'd like to have it.
Sure,
I agree with that.
okay.
Okay, Scott, anything else?
No, I have nothing more. Thank you.
Joe Limbeck?
Oh, I think Scott and Neil covered it well.
Thank you. We do have a resolution prepared, but it's missing some information because we didn't.
Hey,
have it.
Ernie.
Yeah,
Ernie, I have, Labella has a few
Oh.
comments on the
sorry.
subdivision.
Go ahead, Wes.
So we just issued a letter today. My guess is that Mr. Gabrielli does not have a copy of this letter yet. However, we did copy BME Associates, the design professional, on our letter. So there are several minor technical issues or details on the plans that can be easily resolved. There are two, maybe three items, one of which, or two of which you've already touched on. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about general requirements for submission of subdivision applications. The town's design and construction standards generally requires subdivision applications to provide for wastewater service, whether it's going to be via a public sewer system or through private septic systems on the lot. So that would include, in this case, there is no public sewer fronting on the property or going on Fountain Hill Road in that location. So in this case, generally for even minor subdivisions, it's required that submission of perk tests and deep hole tests be provided with the application. And the reason for that is to help confirm that the lot is going to be buildable. And if they're not going to provide that information, the perk test and deep hole test, then a waiver would need to be required, or a waiver would be required by the planning board pursuant to section 1.2 of the design and construction standards. So in conducting these soil tests for septic would provide some assurance and clarity for future buyers, and even probably improve marketability of a parcel, so that the buyer sees and can sees that the lot does perk, or they'll understand if there was some trouble with the perk test, that what might be required to overcome or provide some sort of modified wastewater component to the project. Recently, the Town of Victor Planning Board has considered other subdivisions where you waive that requirement for submitting soil testing for perk tests and deep hole tests. The difference there, at least in my current perception, is that there were existing buyers waiting in the wings, ready to purchase these lots, and understood the risk of buying a lot and then having to do this due diligence themselves to perform these perk tests and deep hole tests. And they were ready and willing to do that. So that was kind of the message that I think the previous applicants had provided to the planning board. The other issue which you guys have touched upon is the access management law of the town, found in Chapter 55 of the Victor Town Code. And generally that law, as adopted by the town board, you're obligated to comply with that to certain degrees, unless a certain waiver is provided for subdivisions, even if proposed development is not included with this particular application. So, for example, your discussion about showing a conceptual driveway, that's important, even if a project isn't being developed right at this time, because like Mr. Galena said, if you finalize these lot lines and then you find out that you're not able to comply with these access management laws in terms of separation distance between driveways, and you haven't found that there's adequate site distance for this conceived access to the lot, it would be unbuildable, and a potential buyer might have to come back to the planning board to to adjust these lot lines to help find a way to make reasonable access. So I would agree with the planning board members that have felt that they at least need to show conceptually where this driveway access is going to be to the road frontage. I can note that the immediate subdivision to the west, the planning board approved this Boughton Hill Road subdivision a few years back. There are two lots just to the west of this project parcel where they're sharing a shared driveway was created, and that shared driveway is located about 250 feet west of the southwest corner of proposed lot 2. And then the driveway immediately, the existing looped driveway on this project parcel on lot 1, the separation distance between that westernmost driveway on lot 1 and the subdivision to the west is about 600, I think it was 650 feet. And based on my interpretation of looking at the access management code, either a driveway for this lot 2 wouldn't be able to comply with the separation distance requirements unless that western looped driveway access was either eliminated or some form of waiver was provided. So, I just wanted to bring those up to your attention. I don't think this is insurmountable, all of these issues, but it's something that I think you've identified and you need to you're taking into consideration. So, and I can get a copy of that letter to Mr. Gabrielli. The town planning and building department now has a copy of it as well.
Can you explain the waiver part of it? How does that happen?
So the planning board provides the waiver. So based on their review of the application and the information that you provide and the justification, if you're going to request that waiver, the planning board simply makes findings as to why this waiver might be reasonable, and then they would issue that waiver if they felt it was prudent.
So the separation between driveways needs to be how many feet?
Well, at a minimum, don't quote me on this, but at a minimum, it would need to be 440 feet. But more like Mr. Harder said, roughly somewhere around 500 feet. I don't know exactly, without taking a deeper look into this. But the other thing that we don't have here is any indication about site distance notations on the subdivision drawing. So my guess is that site distance probably isn't an issue, because I don't think there are any vertical hills that would impede site distance, but that's something that we would want to see on the subdivision plan as well.
BME can touch base with you, can't they, Wes?
I'm sorry, Ernie, can you say that again?
Yeah, BME can touch base with you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for the benefit of Mr. Gabrielli, BME Associates, we at Labella, as a town engineer, we're very familiar with working with BME. We know the individuals there, and we're happy to talk with them and coordinate with them and make sure that your project your proposed subdivision here would meet the town's requirements.
Okay, yeah, I'm still at a loss because I don't know why BME didn't foresee this happening if they do it all the time. So I find it, you know, I don't know. Okay, well, I guess we can get with them and see what they say.
Yeah, if they can get together with Wes and then we can get this
Yeah.
within the next week or so, we can probably get you on the next meeting.
So we have to, before we can market this property, we have to wait another till next month?
No, our next meeting is the second Tuesday in May.
Oh, second Tuesday in May. Okay.
But I think, Ernie, one of the things that I would like the planning board to weigh in on is kind of my comments on wastewater and septic and whether or not you might consider providing a waiver. You know, because I don't want to go down the road of getting in touch with BME or having BME contact us and say, you know, if you guys are willing to provide that waiver on the septic issue, then, you know, that's fine. But, you know, there's likely a little more time involved than just a couple of weeks if we're going to require them to go do soil testing and give us some additional information.
And all that's been done though, right? I mean, on the property one.
So yeah, so for example, the soil testing and the perk and deep hole test would simply need to be done too.
Even though it's the same, even though it was approved for the whole lot originally, right? Because they did a perk test, they engineered a septic system. You're saying it's now the soil could be different because there's a lot division?
Well, the septic system for lot one, where even though it accommodated the single family home, that testing was done in a particular location on that lot. And that's where.
Yeah, but we don't know where the location is going to be for if someone even built. They may not even build. Someone might use it for hunting or something, or, you know, who knows?
Well, what it does is it provides some assurance to the planning board, right? It provides assurance to the planning board that the lot can be built so that, you know, a future buyer doesn't get stuck with a lot and then realizes, you know, it's not buildable because, you know, we don't have soil testing information, a perk test, you know, the soils don't perk, or they can't get a wastewater system in there. So,
well, I mean, that's part of their due diligence when they do that. I mean, they're going to know this.
So generally, I got to tell you, Mr. Gabriel, generally, this is the planning board's due diligence prior to completing a subdivision. So, you know, it's one of the safeguards that the town has as a tool to ensure that, you know, lots are going to be buildable and that they don't run into a scenario whereby, you know, an unaware owner purchases a lot and then realizes they can't do anything with it.
Can we make a notation on the plans then? And just say that it's, you know, that this needs to be done?
Well, I think that's for the planning board to decide. I think, you know, that's one alternative, right? That's one alternative if the planning board is comfortable with that.
Okay. And that was, I think that was recommended by BME to make notes of, because it's a simple division, they had wrote me an email and they were saying that, you know, for future development, you know, a notation could be made on the plans, and, you know, as long as it's noted on there, that would be sufficient. But, you know, that's up to you guys, you know.
Joe, were you going to mention something?
Well, I was going to suggest that Mr. Gabrielli get back with BME and have them have a conversation saying, here's what the planning board is telling us. And here are his options. And they can choose to come back before the board and look for variances. They can choose to satisfy that, but at least they can tell you, Mr. Gabrielli, how much time each option may take for approval and the risks involved. And then certainly BME can have that conversation with Wes Petty and, you know, iron out some of those concerns. But,
okay.
You know, discussing it anymore here in the meeting, I don't think is productive.
No,
because there's a conversation that needs to be had between you and your engineer, and then between BME and the town's engineer. So that's where I think we just moving ahead. Then,
yeah, you know, I'm new to this process. I was relying on BME and the fact that you guys have a relationship with them to know all this ahead of time. So I don't know why they didn't
Well,
foresee this happening.
that would be a conversation between you and BME, and then
Sure.
we can all move forward with it. We're glad to support the subdivision I'm hearing. It's just some details that need to be shown on the plans. So
Okay,
yeah, I think you can be pretty confident that we're supportive of the application. It's just details that we brought up. So,
okay,
all right.
we can do that, sure.
Okay. Very good. Are we done with this item for tonight? All right, the next one is the Catella Office Building sign, 11 SP 2021, 7255 State Route 96, zoned commercial / light industrial, tax map number 15.00-1-1, 2.100. Owner is Rhino 96 LLC. Applicant is requesting approval to install 2 LED facelit flush mounted signs to the north and west elevation side of the building. Anybody here for this one?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Dr. Quatella speaking. And also Mr. Bonanno, who designed the sign and is the sign installer, is also on the call.
Okay. You've got it up on the screen is what it's going to look like. North and west, east, west.
West, yeah.
It was in the packet, so it's familiar to the board members. Do you want to say anything more than that this is what we want to do? I remember when this building was approved initially, there was some conversation about the signage because it wasn't, you didn't know what you wanted to do at that time.
Right.
So here we are. But if you want to say anything else, say it. You can say it later too, but I'll call on the board to ask any questions they might have.
Michael, do you have anything to add? I mean, that's essentially what we'd like to do, but.
This is Mike. I have no other further comments. Obviously, as you can see, the signs are drawn, the elevations are clear, and this is what Dr. Quatella would like on the building. And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Quatella, there won't be any more signage on the building, correct?
I'm not certain. There's other tenants, and I'm not certain. But for now, this side of the building, that's all we plan on the side that we're using.
Okay. Well, you realize that if we approve this, if you want additional signs, you're going to have to come back again.
Yeah, I think that at this time, we realize that, because we don't know what tenants might want. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I'll go to the board then. Start with Joe Limbeck this time.
I noticed that it's code compliant. I think it's very attractive, and I have no issues with it at all.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Al Galena?
I just echo Joe's comments. No issues, no questions.
Okay. Joe Logan?
Yeah, typically on a building, I guess I would ask about the second sign on the west, or was it the north elevation? Maybe it's west. That we'd normally only have one sign on a building unless there's another road next to it that, it's on a corner. So that sign would be normally allowed, and then you wouldn't have one on the right side of the building. So I guess I would be interested on maybe Wes's perspective on that, or town code enforcement.
It stated in the resolution, Joe, that it was code compliant. And
Yeah.
if I can second guess folks, I think coming down Route 96, I think it would probably help motorists find the address a little bit.
Well, it would if, but if they wanted to have a pedestal sign in addition to this, then that starts to add more signage to the site, and that's where we get a little sticky. So if you're going to have multiple tenants and you want to direct them to the main entrance and then go left to one tenant and right to the other, or
I see what you're saying.
So if there's no prospective future signage on the site other than on the building, I could go along with it. But I need to make sure we are looking at the prospect of other signage and where it would be. So,
Yeah. May I speak or?
sure, of course.
I respect what you just said. I just, without knowing exactly, what the tenants, I mean, prior to COVID, I had, kind of a tenant outlay, and then COVID kind of changed the makeup of tenants. And so, without knowing exactly what we're doing, I can't speak to what future signage would be. I can tell you though, that when you drive, towards Victor, this building just comes up on you really quick. There's no, it's like you can pass it unless you're making a hard right with your vision to look and see the building setback and see the signage. And so the thought of having that sign on the, would that be the east or the west elevation, was to try to mitigate a little bit of that, because it's just really, I mean, I can't tell you, how many people I've directed out there and they just go by it because you have to be right on top of it to notice it.
So I guess I have an observation, and excuse me for interrupting, Mr. Tatalo. Can I share my screen, Susie?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Well, we'll do this. My third screen. Yeah, okay. Sharing. So this is view from 96, or from towards the village. That helped a bit. I'm seeing a wall of trees here, and you can barely see the roof line on the west elevation. And it talk about coming up on it quickly. That's the sign that I'm circling here, that I'm not sure I understand why you really need that. Just for the sake of flexibility, I would think that you'd want a pedestal sign out here that would show what's in the building, and then have signage over each tenant space. Have your sign on the building here if you want, but I would forego this one for the moment and see how the rest of the occupancy shakes out, and then that leaves you with more options to either put a pedestal sign or another sign on the building, but not necessarily having two signs that you maybe really didn't need. So that's my perspective on this.
Okay. Scott, anything?
I agree with all the comments that have come forward. I think Joe makes a good point. I guess it's up to the doctor.
Well, this is the proposal that he's got before us now. And this is the one we have to either accept or not. So that being the case, does anybody feel strongly that it's the wrong thing to do?
No.
Well, yes, so Ernie, I wouldn't say it's the wrong thing to do. I think Joe makes some very good points around where would a pedestal or monument sign serve the purpose of, drawing the passerbyer's attention to the location, more practical. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I mean, it's a consequence of putting up the signage now that, may have to be revisited down the road. That's all. Or,
Well, then into so be it.
Yep.
Myself, I'm not a big fan of pedestal signs. We've gone through this with other applicants too.
Can I just interrupt too?
Yeah.
The pedestal sign cannot identify tenants in the building without a variance from the zoning board.
Okay.
There is a pedestal sign there now, I believe, and Denise, maybe you can help me out a little bit. I think it's got the address on it, maybe.
It
It does, Kim. So the sign that's out in front now does meet code for the town of Victor, and it says 7255 East. That's actually the name of the building. We are interested in potentially moving forward with our request to consider a monument or a pedestal sign, because there are quite a few going down Route 96. And our hopes, or Dr. Quitella's hopes, are that we bring some new business in to the town of Victor. So we're very excited about the building opening in June for Dr. Quitella's second medical spa, as well as another medical office. So what we wanted to do now was to make sure that his medical spa is highlighted. We actually have quite a few spa clients that live in Victor, Farmington, and Canandaigua, so they may be going to the new location, and we just want to make sure they're able to easily find it.
Well, I suppose once they found it once, they could find it again. Anybody else have any comments?
I said pedestal, I meant monument, just like you would see at some of the other business buildings. I don't like pedestals. They put it way up in the air. And
Right.
monument.
Yeah,
sign
we
is
don't
different.
allow those anyway.
Yeah. So
Town doesn't.
I was offering an alternative, at least an alternative perspective on the signage for this building. So as Ernie said, it's your choice to, move ahead. I don't think honestly you need that west elevation sign because you won't see it unless you're in the parking lot on that side. But I mean, I'd suggest just putting the one on the north side. And if you still want to do it, then make another one and put it on the side, but see how it goes visibility wise. So, I mean, you're not taking the trees down to unblock that view. So that's my opinion. So I don't feel strongly that I would deny this, but it's giving you an alternative perspective.
Okay,
Can I say something, Mr. Santoro?
sure.
So I have a competitor who's just west of me that took over that linoleum carpet place, and he has both a pedestal sign and a big sign on the building. His building is closer to the road. That's because it's grandfathered because it was there. But in terms of visibility, he has every advantage over what I have, and we're going to be offering similar services. And I struggle with the visibility of this building. I mean, I agree with everything that Mr. Logan said in terms of, does it give us that much more? But I just feel like I'm at a disadvantage already. And, I want to be successful, I want this thing to rock and really do well and be a showpiece out there. And so that's kind of why I did that. Even when it was proposed to put that sign there, I thought, does this add a lot? I don't know. It adds cost to me, but I just feel like I'm a little bit at a disadvantage because this person's pedestal has been grandfathered in, and it's like, I mean, it was there. So I just, that was kind of the impetus of doing what I did, and I just, I wanted you to know that.
Okay. Susie, do we have any calls from the public?
No, there are no comments.
Thank you. Well, it's the board's pleasure here. We do have a resolution which you have in your packets. We can read this and then vote on it, or somebody doesn't even want to move it. I suppose that's another issue. Shall I go ahead and read it for the record?
I have no problem with that, Ernie.
I have no problem either.
I think it's good.
Okay, this is a resolution for, I lost it. There it is.
Ernie, did you want to close the public hearing now, or did you want to wait?
Well, if you've got a resolution, we're going to have to close it. So we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Okay, I don't know who that was, but.
Give it to Al.
Give it to Joe. I'll second.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to see you getting along. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is the Catella office building sign, 7255 State Route 96, today's date, April 27, 2021, application number 11 SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 6. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on March 19, 2021, and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project Patella office building signage will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. And be it further resolved that the site plan application of skylight signs entitled Catella office building signage dated March 11, 2021, received by the planning board on March 19, 2021, planning board application number 11 SP 2020 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that the Catella office building signage design shall be consistent with the details as shown on the elevations dated March 11, 2021. 3, that a building permit be obtained for the signs prior to installation. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Scott makes the motion. With second,
I'll second.
who was that?
Joe Logan.
Joe seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passed 5-0. Okay, Doctor,
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Thank you.
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Let's put my eye out there, my glasses. All right, next is the OB driveway. Public hearing on this one is still open. This is 06 SP 2021, 1550 State Route 444. It's zone residential 2, tax map number 39.00-1-19.200. Owner is Chris Bovee. Applicant is requesting approval to install a 12-inch, 20-foot culvert and install a second driveway similar to the existing driveway to accommodate a travel trailer, which will be closer than the minimum 10-foot setback, which would require a waiver from the design and construction standards. They said he's asking for a waiver from the design and construction standards for minimum setback of 10 feet to the property line. Now, there was some discussion at the last meeting about the position of New York State Department of Transportation. And my recollection is that he already had an application in and it was approved. My recollection is a little hazy about what else he was supposed to get from. Anybody remember that? I don't think there was.
I don't think that was it from the state, but was it to go before the county? Was that?
Yeah, we were waiting for the county comments.
They didn't have any comments, or they did? I thought I saw something in the packet.
They are in your packet.
Yeah, right here.
And essentially, the county planning board is not going to make any comments one way or another.
No, it's, and I suppose the state wouldn't have given them permission to make the cuts if they were going to make a projection later. Anybody have any other comment or questions for the applicant? Mr. Bovee, are you here?
I don't see him, Ernie.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Well, that being the case. Susan, anybody from the public call in?
No.
Well, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves. Second.
Lindbeck will second.
Lindbeck seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a resolution for this. to the Bovee driveway, 1550 State Route 444. Today's date, April 27, 2021, application number 06 SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 10. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on April 27, 2021, and identified no significant impacts. Now, therefore, we have resolved that the project, Bovee Driveway, will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. And be it further resolved that the planning board waives the town's design and construction standards to allow a horizontal minimum setback of less than 10 feet from the adjacent property line. And be it further resolved that the application of Chris Bovee, site plan entitled Bovee Driveway dated March 8, 2021, received by the planning board March 8, 2021, planning board application number 06 SP 2021, be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that requirements of the New York State Department of Transportation permit dated March 22, 2021 be adhered to. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Have a motion on this?
I'll move.
Al moves. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 5-0.
4-1.
4-1.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Are you a no?
That's okay.
Sorry. I didn't hear you or see you. Are you a no? No?
I'm a no, yeah.
All right. That's 4-1. Okay, there you go. I don't know if Mr. Bovee is listening in, but that's what just happened. All right, the next one. Fisher's Landing facade modification, and the public hearing on this one is still open as well. It's 08 SP 2021, 7383-7387 State Route 96, zone commercial, tax map number 15.00-2-80.000. Owner is the DeMarco Group. What? What's going on? Are we also?
Susie, can you mute that?
Where's it coming
Trying
from?
to figure out who it's coming from. I can't tell, otherwise I would.
Okay. Applicant is requesting approval to renovate the north facade of the existing 23,000 square foot building, including removal of a portion of the seam metal roof and conversion of the center elements of a gable end appearance. Okay, Paul, you were here last time. I think we saw what you wanted to do. We do have some comments before we go to you. Wes, you had some comments with regard to this?
Well, I did see our architectural consultant's comments. Mark Kukufka from Labella provided an email, and I believe it's in your file.
Yes, it is.
And he was indicating that the green standing seam roof is generally more compliant with the Route 96 251 overlay design guidelines versus the elimination of that and having that abrupt change from the vertical facade to the horizontal roof. So he did indicate that there were multiple styles and colors of standing seam roofs if they wanted to change the green color. You know, and it's just basic, it's Mark Kukufka's observation, you know, based on comparing this design with the design objectives of the corridor. Certainly, Mark was feeling that the center portion of the new facade really does kind of match what the design intent of the corridor is. But then the wings on the left and right, it appears that, you know, that some form of standing seam roof would be more appropriate and meet the objectives. But that's all we've got for you.
Okay, Paul, have you seen that? You still there?
Sorry, I'm here. Yeah, thanks, Ernie. I have seen that, and I actually responded to Mark's prior comments on the original elevation that we submitted in a written correspondence back through the planning department, where we actually lowered the left and right side of that center element to give some vertical articulation. That's what I shared with the board last time. It is our desire to remove the standing seam roof on the left and right side of that center element and create that gable section in the middle. As I reviewed with the board 2 weeks ago, I felt like everyone responded very favorably to the modifications we proposed to make. We don't have any interest in keeping the standing seam left and right of that center element. We do want to carry the rest of the facade renovations that occurred in the back around to the front and kind of tie this whole renovation together. And it also gives us a little bit better placement for signage for tenants. One of the major issues we have with all of our tenants is visibility of signage. As you know, that building sits about 16 feet below the center of the road. So trying to have the ability for signs to be a little bit more prominent and up as much as we can, raise them closer to the driver eye height is a goal. So I did also get correspondence back from Al Benedict as he reviewed my responses and the correspondence that or the commentary that we had last meeting, where we are not seeking a variance for height. We are below the total height allowed for this facade renovation. So that's all I have. We're hopeful that we can move forward with the renovations. We're excited to kind of refresh the face of that building.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Paul?
I wondered if we were going to take a look at the lights as we had discussed last time, the wall packs on the south side.
Yeah, Scott, that's a good point. I did drive by there. They are kind of forward casting. We will replace those with wall pack that are cut off and downlight. There's no site lighting off to that future pad area, but when we do build the pad adjacent, we would have the similar lighting that's in the plaza carried around. So we'll replace those wall packs on the what I think is we'll refer to as the east side of the building.
Great.
Anything else, Scott?
I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Joe Logan?
Nope, Paul, you addressed my comments. I'm fine with it.
Very good. Joe Lindbeck?
I'm fine with it as well. No comments.
Thank you. Al Galena?
Excuse me, I am good as well. Thanks.
Very good. And then we have, well, actually a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move it.
Motion. Joe Logan, second.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna move
moved, sorry.
Okay. Resolutions for Fisher's Landing facade modification. Today's date, 4/27/21. 7383-7387 State Route 96. Application number 08SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 8 of them. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on April 27, 2021, and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be resolved that the project Fisher's Landing facade modification will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. And be it further resolved that the application of Paul Colucci of the Marco Family Victor LLC site plan entitled Fisher's Landing facade modification drawn by Designer Works with an X. Architects dated February 15, 2021, last revised March 23, 2021 for the ceased A100, close parentheses, received by the Planning Board April 9, 2021, Planning Board application number 08SP 2021, be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. Ongoing conditions. 1, that the site plan comply with the town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including section 4, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Any motion on this?
I'll move it.
Okay, Scott moves it. Second,
Al seconds.
Joe Lindbeck.
That was Al.
Okay, it was Al.
Yes.
Okay. Tough doing it on your phone, you know. I'm gonna get this fixed before the next meeting. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, fast, 5-0. Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
okay.
Have a great night. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
As indicated earlier, the Wilkins RV matter has been removed for the next meeting. And do we have a final subdivision? This public hearing appears to be closed already. For Willis Hill Estates Phase 2, formerly the Anderson subdivision, 06 FS 2021, 1025 Strong Road, zoned residential 2, owners Woodstone Custom Homes. Applicant is requesting approval to create 23 lots, including 1 flag lot on the east side of Willis Hill Road as a cluster subdivision using Town Law 278. The phase will include approximately 32 acres of conservation easement in addition to the 49 acres created in Phase 1. This is the third step of a major subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. Lucas here from Marathon to talk about the application. I've also got Jeff Smith is on the line.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Everybody else?
So we were here 2 meetings ago. That's where we introduced the project, talked about all the details of it, the offsite sewer components and how it relates to the overall development. So since that meeting, we had to table at the last one because we were still waiting on some comments, but today we have all the comments from the town, from Labella, from the review agencies. And so I'd just like to talk about a few of those, some of the areas of the concern that came up. So the first one was, it actually came up at the last meeting, was the regrading of this slope here on Willis Hill Road. There's a bank that sticks out right next to the shoulder, and we're proposing to push that back and to create an open shoulder so that you can have visibility down the roadway and from both of these intersections. So there was some concerns about the one-on-one slope proposed. And so what we did was we went and consulted with a geotechnical engineer, that was Jim Baker at Foundation Design. And he had confidence in what we proposed, given the conditions of the soils out there. The existing bank is at a slope of greater than one-on-one. And we're just proposing to push that back. But there was some concerns that came through in Labella's letter about the stability of a one-on-one after you regrade it. So in conjunction with performing test pits on site, consulting with our geotechnical engineer, and just understanding the town's concern, we're proposing to lay that slope back to a 1-on-2. So cut that slope to something that's more manageable. This will conform with the recommendations of the geotechnical engineer. I talked with the geotechnical engineer from Labella today on the phone regarding that slope. The 1-on-2 is something that they're comfortable with as opposed to a 1-on-1. So I just wanted to bring that up here at the board meeting. That's something that we're willing to change to make everyone more comfortable with this slope, understanding that it's right on the town right away. It's adjacent to the road. So, better safe than better safe on this situation. So,
okay.
there are two, I understand that there may be a draft resolution on the agenda tonight. So if the board is interested in going in that direction, I want to point out that there are two waivers that we are requesting. The first waiver is for the provision of a landscaping plan. So how we typically handle these is we provide a note on the plans indicating the requirements of the tree caliper size, how many trees are required per lot, and those are provided as a condition of the building permit for each lot. So that's typically how we handle it. That's how we handle it on Bluemont, rather than putting together a landscaping plan that, you know, really doesn't mean much until you go and build these lots. So that's one waiver that we're requesting. We're requesting that we do not provide a landscaping plan, rather that requirement is covered in a note, and that's verified at the time of the building permit. The second waiver that we're asking for is similar to one that we asked for in phase 1 of this project. And that's for a waiver from the conservation easement requirements for the markers. So I'll just bring up a figure that I put together. This shows these dots are the conservation markers as they're required per the town construction standards. So as is typical, sometimes there's these interim markers that don't provide much benefit. They're sort of, these ones are floating out in the middle of the buffer area. This is a slope, so these are 30 feet up above the lots, and they're set back into the wood line. So selecting locations that will be useful in identifying the boundary of the conservation easement. That's essentially what I'm trying to do here by laying out the black dots. The red dots would be markers we're requesting relief from, sort of interim markers that are required per the letter of the standards, but that's something we'd like to request relief from, because we think that the black markers are sufficient. So that's what I wanted to lay out. If there's any questions or discussion about these items, we'll be happy to go there.
Well,
I have a question.
Well, first of all, let's go to Wes, because he wrote a substantial letter concerning these things. So Wes, why don't you do that, and then we'll let the board chime in.
Okay, thanks, Ernie. Yeah, we only got our comment letter out recently on April 23rd. So probably one of the bigger concerns that is identified in the beginning of our letter was in regard to the steep slope and the bank reconstruction along Willis Hill Road. And you can see that right here on your screen, that dark shaded area. You've got a lot of contours that are really close together there. And as probably all of you planning members know from driving along this road that's in your hometown, that bank is right up against the side of the road, and it's causing one of the obstacles that's here as part of the subdivision proposal is that it limits sight distance for the proposed intersections. So one of the things that the developer and project sponsor has offered to do to resolve that sight distance issue that his proposed roadways create is to cut back that slope, that existing slope. Now, while I do recognize that Lucas did indicate that the existing slope there is steeper than what their proposed one-on-one slope is, if I characterize that correctly. We know that there's some existing vegetation on the existing slope that helps solidify and hold those soils together. So, and my understanding is that if we cut away that vegetation, and I think it might even be alluded to just a little bit in their geotechnical letter, indicates that those pieces of vegetation help hold that soil together. And then, sometimes it takes a long time to reestablish that kind of solid, I don't want to call it immobile, but some more of that stability if that vegetation is removed. So we did provide some comments, some feedback on their proposed one-on-one slope. We did have some concerns. I reached out to one of our geotechnical engineers at Labella Associates to get some expertise and evaluation of what was proposed initially. So there were some concerns based on, we didn't really have any slope stability calculations that would, although they did do some soil testing or sampling of the soils out there, there weren't any calculations to substantiate the proposed design and confirm that the design meets the minimum recommended, I think they call them factors of safety, that we would be looking for. So those are articulated in general in our comment letter, and I've invited to this meeting tonight Tom from Labella Associates to answer questions and maybe also provide a better characterization or more expertise in terms of what was evaluated, how it was evaluated, and even identify, Labella, we had done some initial preliminary investigation out here back when the town was considering the capital project to perhaps install a Gabion wall, which has been put on hold, and currently there's no schedule, there's no anticipated rescheduling of that project at this point. So that was one of the big concerns with the final subdivision. Sometimes we get this type of detail ironed out in the preliminary subdivision before seeker is completed. We didn't get the opportunity to do that in this particular stage. Beyond that, we've got several or numerous sanitary sewer comments off-site, but they're really just kind of cleaning up notes, adding some detail, technical items. I don't really see them as showstoppers for this project. We really spent a lot of time with the developer and the developer's design professional hammering out where the sanitary sewer line is going to go off-site. It's going to be placed under the roadway and all of that. So we did talk about the conservation easement markers and the potential need for a waiver, as well as potential need for a waiver on the landscaping plan. Yes, so there's another item where there's a couple of more items where there might need to be a waiver, which I've drafted a resolution and incorporated some of these into the draft that we can talk about a little more. One of them is the lateral separation on lot 204. That's the lot that's got the long driveway, and the laterals, generally we require that the laterals be separated by 10 feet measured at the outside diameter of the pipe. So there would be 10 feet separation between the water service and the sanitary lateral. And there would also be 10 feet of separation between the water service and the storm sewer lateral as well. So regardless of whether it's storm or sanitary, we generally require that 10 feet of horizontal separation for those laterals. So as you can see here in the center of the screen, it mentions that the utility laterals on lot 204 maintain 5 feet separation between each, with the water and the sanitary sewer lateral having that 10 feet separation. Although it is identified on there as on center, and that should probably be, at least that's what my understanding is of that notation. And then the other one is the same lot 204, which I drafted a potential waiver for. Is let me see if I can find the
And Wes, just to speak to that while you're pulling that up, we've modified this lateral layout to address that comment. The rest of your comments we're comfortable addressing, and that was one of them that was also echoed by the water authority. They wanted those redistributed. So that comment is addressed, but we're not looking for a waiver there.
All right, perfect. So the other one, and maybe you can speak to this too, as well, Lucas, and it's very possible that I had missed some correspondence. But I did take a look at the memo from the fire marshal, and I noted that in the section 1, for example, you obtained a waiver for not requiring, so the planning board wasn't going to require that 30-foot by 10-foot pull off for the driveway. For this section, it would be with lot 204. Is there an do you need a waiver for that as well here?
If that waiver doesn't apply to this approval, then yes. I apologize, I didn't understand that to be a waiver, but that me and Robert Graham and Sean McAdoo talked, and these driveways are to them the same as the driveways that were improved in phase 1.
Okay.
So these pullover lanes are less critical to them than the turnaround that we designed up at the apron.
Okay. All right. Very good. So I think, you know, there's some comments that are pretty easy for the applicant to resolve, but we've got Tom here from Labella and wanted to kind of turn the meeting over to him, or leave it to the planning board members to ask questions, whatever your preference might be on that slope. Maybe I will go back to that slope on the roadway. You know, one of the concerns that we have is if that slope were to fail either during construction or, you know, several years down the road, it's not only maybe it could be more than just a headache for the town, you know, to clean up if that slumps off into the roadway, right? It could be a health and safety issue if someone's driving by an unfortunate event and the slope fails. I mean, potentially it could involve injury, possibly death. I mean, that's probably a very extreme circumstance, but we want to protect the town's interest and make sure that you know, it's done in a safe manner, and and that this resolves the site distance issue as well. So,
may I say, Wes, I thank you for that. But we should remember though that we're backing the toe of the slope up approximately 10 feet away from the road edge, and currently it is approximately 0 feet away from the road edge. So that clearly the safety margin is considerably greater than it is now. And plus, I do appreciate that there is a vegetation that's established there, but recall that this slope has to be at least 75 years old, if not older. And there's no indication that this slope has been sloughing into the roadway over those 75 years. And I'm sure those trees weren't there when it was initially established. So, I mean, I understand someone mentioned one of the professionals about hypothetical modeling based on soil characteristics, but the modeling is there in person. And this slope is withstood time for 50 to 75 or maybe even more years. And it is considerably more vertical than what we're proposing. Now, I would like to clarify that Lucas said he spoke to an engineer at Labella regarding the geotechnical, and I assume that hopefully that's Tom that's here this evening. But that, you know, to clarify, we're proposing to modify that slope to almost a mowable slope at 2-on-1, 1-on-2, however you want to look at it. But we consider 1-on-3 a mowable slope, and that is clearly not going to risk anyone's safety with a 10-foot margin at the road edge. You know, I think it was proposed initially that if there were any concern during construction, that we could address it. And I still think that's reasonable, that, you know, you could do all the hypothetical research you want, but in reality, that slope has withstood time, and we're going to considerably reduce it. And during construction, if it looks like it could be a problem, then I think we've always been cooperative with the town. And I agree, we should vegetate it immediately get something with more than grassroots involved. But I think we're showing more alarm than necessary on this, and we'll have a letter of credit if there's something that's going to happen. I suspect it's going to happen before vegetation starts growing on it, which is clearly within the time frame that our letter of credit is going to stand. So I hope that what we talk about now is, again, what Lucas originally commented on, that we're recognizing the concern. We're suggesting that the slope be reduced even further. And in addition, the toe of the slope is moved considerably away from the road edge, which in itself will provide a safety condition. So.
Thanks.
So if I can just chime in, I would agree, that, from our stance, a slope that's one vertical and two horizontal, as I mentioned with Lucas today, that's okay with us. We actually recommend that for cut slopes in general. So as far as I'm concerned, particularly if the toe is going to be moved back 10 feet, I think that's kind of been asked and answered at this point. I mean, when it was proposed to be one-on-one, even though it's steeper than that now, it's still kind of incumbent on the stakeholder to basically have the calculations performed, just to have that substantiation that your factors of safety are going to be what they should be from an engineering standpoint. It's just important to do that to make sure that everything has been the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed as far as engineering wise, and that you're providing a safe circumstance. We felt like that was not the case with regard to how it was originally presented, but since it's being proposed as a one vertical on two, the need to do those calculations, we feel like, is not required at this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Wes, my phone is such a small picture, I couldn't tell who that was.
Oh,
was that your associate?
Yes, that's Tom,
Oh,
our
okay.
our geotechnical engineer from LaBella Associates.
Okay. Do you want to present anything else, Wes?
That's it. That's all I have for right now, but I'm happy to address. Tom and I are here to answer questions if the planning board members have any.
Okay. Who wants to go first? I saw Scott appearing on the screen briefly and then.
Still here.
Okay.
I guess my comment would be the 1-on-2 seems like the right answer. I'm glad that they are okay with doing it. I'm glad the geotech from LaBella thinks it's a good solution. I think problem solved. The only question I had for Lucas was regarding the landscaping plan. I understand that you don't want to do landscaping around new homes to be built. Is there any landscaping proposed for the stormwater pond areas as part of the design of the ponds?
There's no, these are infiltration basins, so there's no landscaping proposed within them.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Algalina? Anything?
Well, I agree with Scott's comments. I think the one vertical and two horizontal is a good resolution to that, because that was concerning, but I'm much more comfortable now.
Yeah. Well, you and I drive that way a lot of times, so.
Yep, a lot, and I think that's going to be a nice enhancement to that fairly dangerous situation there.
Yep. Okay, Joe Limbeck?
No, I agree with Alan Scott.
Okay, very good. Joe Logan?
I appreciated Tom's comments and I agree with them. I could not agree with the one-on-one slope at all. I've seen slopes fail right down the street from my house, right into the middle of Briar Road. So steep slopes. So I'd much rather see this one-on-two. So that's all I got.
Okay. All right, to answer the question of the applicant, we do not have a resolution tonight.
Ernie,
But-
Ernie,
Yeah.
if I could interrupt,
Sure.
I prepared one with Kim. We just didn't distribute it to the board. And we're happy to share that on the screen and
All right.
review it
Why don't you do that?
and talk through it. Okay.
I did just send it to everyone's email.
Okay.
So they could-
And just to familiarize, there's some color text in this draft document, this draft resolution. And then there's also, and what that colored text is, it relates to the waivers that we've been talking about, right? And some of them, I think one of them, Lucas indicated they're not seeking because they resolved the issue with the lateral separation, so we're okay there. And we'll review those. And then there's also one condition that I need to add to the end of the resolution that we discussed at the last meeting. But
Can it put it up on the screen?
yep, I can put it up on the screen. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. All right. Can you, with the exception of Ernie, who's on the small screen phone, can folks read this?
Yes.
Okay.
I can read it.
Oh, great. All right. Good, Ernie. All right. So let's take a review here. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. The final subdivision application for a cluster subdivision was received on or about February 17th, 2021 by the secretary of the planning board from Jeff Smith, Woodstone Custom Homes, the applicant for Willis Hill Estates, Phase 2, formerly known as Anderson subdivision, requesting to subdivide approximately 55.6 acres into 23 residential building lots. This application is the third step in a major subdivision review process and follows the sketch plan for the Anderson subdivision, which was deemed complete by resolution of the planning board on March 10th, 2020. And this application also follows the seeker negative declaration as well as conditional preliminary overall subdivision approval issued by the planning board on November 10th, 2020 for the Anderson subdivision. It is the intent of the applicant to create 23 new home sites on 55.6 acres for phase 2 under the New York State Town Law section 278 clustering provisions, as well as pursuant to section 184 article 5 clustered project of the Victor Town Code. The Conservation Board reviewed phase 2 of the proposed subdivision on March 2nd, 2021. The town engineer, Lavella Associates, has provided a comment letter dated April 23rd, 2021. Pursuant to section 27.8J of the town code, a recreation fee for each lot, or in the event of multiple dwelling, a recreation fee for each family unit in lieu of parkland shall be paid to the town before issuance of a building permit. Pursuant to section 27.8 of the town code, a one-time charge for new connections to the consolidated sewer collection system shall be paid to the town before issuance of a building permit. Now we're getting into some of the waivers. Let's see. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the planning board hereby issues a waiver to section 1.11, paragraph 4, and 1.11.1.5 of the Victor Town of Design and Construction Standards for the purpose of not requiring a separate landscaping plan within the plan set. And be it further resolved that the planning board hereby issues a waiver to section 2.916.4 of the town's design and construction standards for the purpose of not requiring the construction of a 30-foot by 10-foot pull-off over for lot 204. And be it further resolved that the planning board hereby issues a waiver to the portion of section 2.9.13.3 of the design and construction standards for the purpose of not requiring conservation easement markers to be placed every 200 feet. And maybe what I can do is revise that so it is somehow consistent with the graphic that Lucas shared on the screen tonight, if the planning board is happy with that.
Yeah, well, I think that would be a good add, because I mean, that could be is that no markers are required, so.
Okay. All right. I will make that change.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but while we're on the this item, the waiver for the driveways should probably be applicable to lot 204 and 223. Both of those are the larger estate style lots.
Lucas, you're right. So for the planning board's consideration, that lot 223 fronts on Willis Hill Road. Okay. Where'd that go? 204, 223. This particular waiver, I think what we'll do is we'll delete that because Lucas indicated that there wasn't a need based on his updated plan set, which provides that separation distance. And be it further resolved that the final subdivision application of Jeff Smith, Woodstone Custom Homes, 15 Fishers Road, Suite 202, Pittsford, New York, major subdivision entitled Willis Hill Estates Phase 2, drawn by Marathon Engineering, drawings C 0.1 through C 7.3, dated February 16th, 2021. Received by the Planning Board February 17th, 2021. Planning Board application number 6 FS 2021 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions that must be met prior to the chairman signing the final subdivision plan. That no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25th, 1996. 2, that before the planning board chairman signs the approved film originals, the developer should submit 2 copies of electronic files to the town. Copies of electronic files shall be forwarded to the town engineer to confirm that the data on the electronic files is the same as the approved subdivision plans. 3, that section 4 standard approval conditions for all subdivisions, major and minor, of the design and construction standards be met. Number 4, that comments in the letter dated 23rd, 2021 from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 5, that project-specific comments in the February 19th, 2021 coordinated fire service be addressed so that final plans depict driveways that meet the criteria of the New York State Fire Code and Town of Victor design and construction standards, with the exception of the 30-foot by 10-foot pullover requirements for lots 204 and 223. I'll fix that syntax there. And that comments from Sean McAdoo, Code Enforcement Officer, dated February 26th, 2021 be addressed. That all conservation easement markers be shown on the final plans consistent with the graphic shared and displayed at the April 27, 2021 planning board meeting. Okay, that's so I'll just read that one again. That conservation easement markers be shown on the final plans consistent with the graphic prepared and displayed at the April 27th, 2021 planning board meeting. Number 8, the comments from the Town of Farmington Sewer Department dated March 15, 2021 be addressed. 9, that comments from the Town of Victor Stormwater Program Manager be addressed. And then ongoing conditions. Number 1, that the major subdivision comply with Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including section 4. 2-year maintenance bonds shall be provided by the developer to the town for all improvements to be offered to the town for dedication. Maintenance bonds shall be written by a surety licensed to do business in New York State, and they shall be in the amount of 10% of the final construction cost as determined by the engineer for the town. Number 3, that approved subdivision maps, including conservation easements, lot consolidations, and lot line adjustments, shall be submitted in digital format, AutoCAD 2002 or latest version, effective January 1, 2004. That a pre-construction meeting shall be held prior to the start of construction. And finally, number 5, should the town not participate in the removal of soil on the embankment along Willis Hill Road, that developer, it'd be the developer's obligation to complete that work. And that's it.
Something else in it? Oh, okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about this before we go further? Joe Logan?
No, no comment.
Okay. Joe Limbeck?
Comment.
Galina?
All set?
And Scott Harder.
Okay.
Very good. Neither do I. So that being the case, we will take the vote. Who's going to move it?
I'll move.
Scott?
I'll move.
Who seconds?
Joe.
Building back.
Joe Limbeck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our last item is the Miller Site Plan Field Change, 7835 North Road, 05 FC 2021, zoned residential 2. Owner is Bethany Miller. Applicant is requesting a field change for a waiver to the design and construction standards to allow roof drainage to splash block instead of draining into a dry well. Per town design and construction standards, 2.7.9.3, dry wells shall be used for disposing of roof drainage where storm sewers are not available and soil conditions are suitable. Anybody here for this one?
This is Mike Green. I'm here to speak to any questions that the board may have.
Okay.
I don't know if they've had it.
Anybody on the board have any questions? Mr. Green? Al, anything?
No, no questions.
Okay. Joe Limbeck?
No, if it's not in the MS4 permit area, I can't see where there'd be a quote requirement, so I'm fine.
Very good. Joe Logan?
No, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. Scott Harder?
Oh, it's reasonable.
Yep. Looks that way to me too. Okay. And we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Joe
Logan.
Logan. And he's gets the nod on this one. Second?
Second.
Looks like Al.
Al, it's Mr. Second. I tell you. Getting used to that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The waiver is granted.
Thanks, board.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Any further business? Hearing nothing, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Okay, Joe Limbeck moves to adjourn. Second by, who's that? Joe Logan? Okay, the two Joes got together on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and once again, another approval of a motion to adjourn.
Have a good week, everyone.